Welcome back to the arcade and another arcade fix. Today we're finally getting back to my Asteroids, which has the multi-game, Asteroids Multi Game. Last video I made on this is, believe it or not, been about 10 months ago, as when I was putting the multi marquee in it that I got from TakeMan. And I found a few problems, issues. I found out that the speaker panel had come loose, so I'm going to have to address that, fix the cabinet. I got a lot of stuff I got to do to fix up the cabinet. But anyway, we're not going to do that. I also found out I have a board issue. Now the game plays fine, graphics are fine, monitor works good. Problem I had was with the sound, where some of the sounds were funky. Well, all of the sounds were funky, as a matter of fact. So I put together a little list here. The thump sound is kind of muted. It kind of goes in and out. Also the saucer sound is the same way. It's sometimes it's there, sometimes it kind of fades in and out. And all of these are kind of scratchy. The life sign at extra life, I had to play it till I got to 10,000 points. It's the same way. It's there, but it's muted and in and out. The saucer fire is muted and in and out. The ship fire is muted and fades in and out. The explosion, this is the difference. There are no explosions. Matter of fact, the explosions most of the time just sound like buzzing, a buzzing noise. And the ship sound, which is the thrust, no thrust whatsoever, completely dead. So that's the issues that we're going to have to work on, is the sound on the soundboard. Now, well, it's not the soundboard, the game board. It's the one board. But we'll get into that in a few. First, I'm going to go ahead and fire the game up. And I'm just going to show you what it's doing. And it takes a second for the monitor to warm up. The diagnostics for the multi-game shows that there's nothing wrong. Everything is working fine. Even says the pokey chip is working. So I don't suspect that it's a pokey problem. And I'm pretty sure it's not an audio amplifier problem, not on the AR board. But the problem is in the game board itself. So let's go ahead and coin up a game. And yeah, let's go ahead and I'll show you what these sounds are sounding like. I think it's zoomed in good enough. Okay, well, let's hear what it sounds like. I'll start a game. Okay, we can hear the thump. The thump's working right now. Have no thrust. The saucer don't sound bad now. Huh. There you go, the explosions are buzzing. But I have a feeling that once it warms up, the other sounds will start coming and going. I do hear an overall buzz, which wasn't there when they were working last. Well, the other night when I was out here and I wrote down that list, everything was just like it was 10 months ago. Now it seems to have healed itself except for the thrust and the explosions. There's still absolutely no thrust sound. But I do hear that hum in the speaker. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm still going to go on the assumption that there is a problem with the rest of these. So let's go take a look at the schematics and see what's involved in the thrust and the explosion, and see what's involved in the other sounds, and see if we can't narrow this down and try to figure out what it is. All right, well, here's the schematics for the sound section. Everything within this box right here is the sound section, including this up here, which is the audio output. This is where it goes into the audio regulator board through audio 1 and audio 2. And this is where all of the sounds that are created merge together to go to the output. You have your thump sound, your saucer sound, life sound, saucer fire sound, ship sound, fire sound, explosion, and ship sound. Okay, well, we know that we don't have an explosion, and we don't have the ship sound, which is the same as the thrust. Now, before, I don't know why it's not doing it now, but before, all these other sounds were also cutting in and out. They would get kind of scratchy and get low volume, but then they would go up to where it sounded like it was kind of normal, and it would keep fluctuating, going in and out. And that was all these sounds: the thump, the saucer sound, the life sound, saucer fire, ship fire. But the explosions were more of a buzzing sound, and of course the thrust was non-existent. So, but right now all those are working. It's just that the explosion and the ship sound's not working. But all these sounds, when they combine together, go into this LM324 right here, which is an op amp. And I guess you got two, actually got, yeah, it goes into P11, which is an op amp. It comes out and goes into another part of P11, which is the same LM324, P11. So I believe P11, the LM324 is a quad op amp. So we also have tantalum capacitors, which is a coupling capacitor right here. That would probably affect all of these sounds. But for not having a ship explosion, it could be P11 we're looking at, or it could be a capacitor. Now let's back up and find out where all these other sounds are. All right, right now the thump sound is working. Here's where we get the thump sound from. And of course that terminates right here and goes up here. So we do have a capacitor right here on the output. And we have a capacitor here. Another capacitor there. Since it was going in and out on all these sounds, I wouldn't think it's got anything to do with the part of the circuit that's actually creating the sound. I would say it has to do something with the output of the sound that's common to all of them, which leads me to believe all of them common is this P11. But let's keep on. This is the saucer sound. We have tantalum capacitors there and other capacitors. These have 555 timers. Again, the sounds are there. They're just, right now they're there, but they were coming in and out. So this has the saucer sound. It's created through this network here, and the output is right here, and the output goes straight again up to the audio output. All right. Then we come down here. This is the saucer fire. That originally was doing the same thing, but right now it sounds okay. Again, it's got a 555 timer, and it's got another LM324 here, L8. That's a different one. But since we didn't have the sound working, and this isn't involved in the other sounds, I would think that's okay. We do have a tantalum capacitor here. Here's the output for the saucer fire sound. Okay, in which that output goes right back up to that. All right, let's see, what do we got here? Here's the ship. Let's see, ship fire. Okay, same deal. It outputs and goes up there. And all these circuits have tantalum capacitors in them. Then down here on this last section, this is where the explosions are made. And we have no explosions, we have a buzzing sound. It also has a tantalum capacitor right here. LS74. Again, unless there's something wrong in this circuit right here, all the explosions go back up to there. And here is the thrust. Thrust is created right here in this circuit. And if we go down to the output of the thrust sound, here we go again with the LM324, and it is P11. That's the other two op amps. So we have no thrust. So it's starting to look like it's the LM324 is the problem. And if that's the case, if these two are completely bad in that chip, because I'm getting no thrust whatsoever, and this is the output of the thrust. Output of the thrust goes up here and goes into this part of the op amp, which also goes to the same thing, P11. And all the other sounds also run through P11. So I am looking at P11, the LM324. All right. That's what I'm suspecting right now. That, or it could be capacitors, but I'm thinking it's P11 because we don't have the thrust sound at all. The thrust sound is dead. But, let's see. Yeah, I'm still going with the P11, the LM324. So what I'm going to do first is, I went ahead and, when I had this problem, I went ahead and ordered from Peter at Arcade Parts and Repairs a complete cap kit for an Asteroids board. So first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and do a cap kit on the board. And then we'll throw the board back in the game, and we'll see if that changes anything. If not, then we'll pull the board back out and we'll change the LM324 at P11. Now, I could just go ahead and do it while I got it on the table here, but I'm trying to investigate and try to figure out what's the cause. If I do the cap kit and do the LM324, well, I can always test the LM324 on my little cheap Chinese tester. I'm pretty sure it will test those. I don't know how accurate it is, but it does have a test for them. But still, I want to do this in a process of elimination. So I'm going to put the cap kit in anyway. So let me go ahead and put the cap kit in. We'll check it. And if that doesn't do anything, then we'll come back and we'll pull the LM324 out, check it, and add a socket and put a new one in. Now, I'm going to try to shorten these videos up a little bit because I know a lot of you don't like long videos. So I'm not going to show the installation of the cap kit. But I am going to video the installation of the cap kit and make it a separate video. So if anyone is interested in putting a cap kit in your Asteroids board and you want to see what the process is like, I should have a video for that for you too. So if you want to watch it, you can watch that separately. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull the board out of the cabinet, put it on the bench, and I'll get started on that cap kit. Okay, well, I installed the cap kit on the Asteroids board. I put it back in the cabinet, fired it up. So let's find out if that brought any of the sounds back. I highly doubt it since none of the caps were in the sound system. So there's no way it could have done anything, but let's try it anyway. Still no thrust. Explosions are still messed up, but all the other sounds seem to be working. It's just the explosions and the thrust. Now that's not the case 10 months ago when this first had a problem, and the other night when I got back to this to test it out, I didn't film any of it, but it was doing the exact same thing. So I'll show a little footage from the last video and show you what it was doing. So here's just a little clip from the last video showing you what it was doing. All right, let's play some Asteroids. Put our token in. Here we go. Okay, that ain't good. Abort. Houston, we have a problem. Okay, well, as you can see from that video clip, we had a problem with all the sounds. And I don't know why it's decided to fix itself on all the other sounds coming in and out. I don't believe it was a loose connection, because back when it was doing it, I actually wiggled the edge connector and all the other connectors going to the audio board, and it was just doing it. So I'm pretty sure the problem is going to be in that op amp. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pull the board back out. We're going to put it back over on the workbench, and we're going to change that op amp and see if that fixes our sound issue. So let's get started on that. Okay, let's see if we can fix this Asteroid sound problem. We're going to go ahead and remove the LM324 op amp right here. And on my board, it's listed as P12. But on the schematics, because I got the wrong set of schematics here, on the schematics it's listed as P11. So when you're working on these boards, the schematics are the same. It's just that the labeling of the chips are different. So that can get you confused if you don't know. So you should always, if you're going to work on a board, go ahead and try to look up, see if you can find a schematic that matches your board. But I can make do with what I got. I know about it, and so I know the difference. So unless we get into this a little deeper, if this doesn't fix the problem, then yeah, I might have to do something different. But yeah, let's go ahead and first thing I'm going to do is add some solder to this. And it's this one right here. Looks like one of the legs is folded over, but it's not touching the one next to it, so I think we'll be all right. I hate it when legs are bent over like that. Makes it hard to get them out. And I want to try to get the chip out in one piece. I could go ahead and clip it out, but I want to be able to check it. So we'll give it a try and see if I can't get it out. Going through all this trouble because I want to be able to check it to see if it checks bad or what. Yeah, it's loose. I think it's just got one of those bent pins still holding it. There we go. Traces look good. All right, it's the moment of truth. See if this tests good or bad. Come on, test bad. Not found. that means it's bad. Insert it. Not found. All right, let's get a new one out of the cabinet here. And LM324. And let's put that in the tester. And let's see what a new one does. There we go. Bam. LM324 or an LM2902. I guess they're compatible. So, yeah. All right. I'm feeling better. All right. Let me go ahead and see if I need to do any cleanup. I mean, this side here, where I pulled it out, looks good. Actually, the other side looks good too. Right there. So I think we can just go ahead and stick the socket in. All right. Let's see, that's a 14-pin socket. Get a 14-pin socket out the stash here. And put it in the right way. All right, get in there. All right, are they straight? Yeah, they appear to be. All right, maybe I got a hole that I need to clear out. Let me go ahead and tend to this and make sure it's all cleaned up good, and we'll be back. Okay, I had one that was partially plugged up with solder, so I had to clean them out. There we go. Get my foam blocks here. All right. First, I'm going to tack the corners. Then I'm going to pick it up and make sure that I have it in there flat. And it is. So now let's go ahead and solder them in. All right, that's all done. Take a look at my work here. All looks good. And let's put our new chip in. Okay, let's put it back in the cabinet, fire it up and see what happens. All right, let's fire it up and see what happens. All right, let me corn it up. And let's see what happens here. No thrust. No explosions, but the explosions sounding different. It now sounds like a digital, I don't know what you call it, repeating clicks. All right, let's put it in test mode. All right, let's see what sounds we get here. Fire. Sounds a little weird. Supposed to, the first part sounds okay, but the last part sounds weird. Huh. Thrust. Nothing. No sound at all. Shields, or, well, hyperspace. All we get is a pop. Well, get a little buzz every now and then. All right, rotate right. Okay, that sounded okay. Rotate left. Okay, salsa sound okay. Well, Back to the drawing board. Okay, let's take another look at the schematics here. Alright, the audio output. We replaced P11 right here, and this is the audio out. We have a thump sound, we have a saucer sound, we have a life sound, we have a saucer fire, ship fire. All those are working. The explosion changed a little bit, but we still basically have no explosion, but we are getting those clicks or pops. The ship sound, which is the thrust, we're getting nothing. It's like it's non-existent. All these sounds tie together and go into P11 here, the op amp, and run through the other op amp and the output. So I think we're safe to say that everything in this section is working like it should. The problem is farther upstream. Okay. So all this is good here. I mean, this is the thump sound section. This is the saucer sound section. This is the saucer fire section. The ship fire section. All that is working. Here's where we get into it. Explosions. You got explosions 0, 1, 2, and 3, and they all go from here back up to where everything is working. Okay, so that means the problem is for the explosions is in here somewhere. Now, down here is the ship sound, which is the ship thrust. P11 we changed. That was the other half of P11 right here, so we know that's good. We know that's not the problem. So, and we have no thrust whatsoever, not even a click, a pop, or anything. So, what can it be? Can it be this 4016? Which I think is that an analog switch? Then we got a 00, LS00, and a LS86. And then we got LS64s, two of them, R9 and P9. It says right here, R9 and P9 generate random noise. This noise is filtered by P11 and produces the rumble sound heard when the ship is thrusting.
You've got mail.
So, it could be one or both of these. Could be this LS86, the 00, or the 4116, or the 4016. There are also quite a few capacitors here. That says it's a Mylar cap. Don't say what that one is. This one is a tantalum. Alright, does the thrust section have anything in common with the explosion section? Let's see. P5 and N5. Got an N6, R8, P7, L5, R7. Doesn't seem to have anything directly related. The only thing that I can see is the 12 kilohertz clock. You got that right here, and you got that down here too. So, also, noise. This takes noise input here, and this is noise right here. And it just says that R9 and P9 generate the random noise. So here is the noise coming off of this LS00. So I wonder if that is tied into that. I would think it would have to be. So maybe that's the only thing that's common with both of them. Maybe I'm not getting that noise signal. So that means maybe it's the N5, the P5, or one of these LS164s, which are shift registers. Noise reset. Okay. All right. I got to do a little more research and a little more studying here. And we may have to get out the logic probe. So let's see what I come up with. All right, I'm back. And what I've done is I've taken the board out of the cabinet and I put my work table up to the back of the cabinet, got the board laying here, got my schematics. Of course, the board is hooked up to the original game harness, so we can actually power the board up on the table so that we can try to make sense of what's going on. I broke out the logic probe and my logic pulsar if we need it. Got my multimeter, and I can even break out the logic comparator if I think we need to get into that deep with it. I've been looking at the schematics here, and I think our game plan is going to be, I'm thinking that because we have no thrust at all and we only have like the digital clicks from the explosions, both of these circuits seem to rely on the noise, which is supposed to be generated by R10 and P10 to LS164 shift registered. So we're going to look into that and find out if this is putting out the noise signal, or if anything is preventing it, any of this other circuitry down here. We're going to find out if our 4016 switch is working, analog switch, because if that's not working, then we're not going to get any sound out to the thrust here. But that doesn't have anything to do with how come we're not getting our noise to the explosion section. So I'm thinking that all this is okay, that we have a problem with the noise generation. So I'm interested to see if, I'm pretty sure that this pinout right here for the noise and the pinout for the noise up here on this chip, they have to be tied together because I think they're using the same noise generation from this setup here. So we need to figure out if this is working, what turns this on, if anything, or if it's supposed to run all the time. I don't know. We're going to try to figure that out. We're also going to try to figure out if the ship thrust enable, if the switch is actually turning on when you push the thrust button on the control panel. I've also wired up a thrust button that goes up to the control panel. I've hooked it on to the control panel button wires with alligator clips. So we do have a way of working the thrust from back here, since I can't be up front at the control panel and hit the thrust. Everything else we can do with this alligator clip here that I got clipped to the ground, we can coin up the game and start a game right here with these little test point loops right here. So I think we're all set up for that. Only thing is, this video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to end it right here, call it part 1. And part 2, I'll come back and we'll hook up the logic probe and we'll fire up the board and we'll start making our checks see if we can't figure out what's going on with the sound, the thrust sound and explosion sound on this board. Everything else is working except for that. So hopefully it's going to go pretty quick. I don't know for sure, but we'll find out. So if you want to find out, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified when the next video comes out. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and we'll see you on the next video. So in the meantime, this has just been another arcade fix. Have you had your arcade fix today?